Number 10. Man-Bat. Despite once being a villain in addition to a man who is primarily known for his scientific pursuits and brilliance, Man-Bat during his time with the Justice League Dark Branch actually got some exposure to magic and was able to open up his sensitivity to it. At one point he shows that he has learned enough to do what even other more experienced magic users struggled to do. Free the new Dr. Fate, Khalid Nazur, grandnephew of Kent Nelson, from a vase that the current Dr. Fate, Naboo, had trapped him in while possessing the body of his great Uncle Nelson. And friends, before we move on to our next spot, if you are loving what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, please go check out our newest channel, Most Amazing Top 10 Anime. Who knows, maybe one day you'll see me over there for a video. Number 9. Tracy 13. Tracy 13 formerly went by the alias of Girl 13 in the New Earth continuity. She is the only daughter of professional skeptic of mysticism Dr. Terrence 13 and his wife, sorceress Mei Huai Lan 13. Tracy uses a unique brand of magic known as urban magic, which allows her to tap into the knowledge, energy, and spirit of cities, fueling her own power with it. She gets much of her knowledge and talent in magic from her mother, who died tragically in a magic-related incident, which broke her father's heart. Tracy is also the founder of the Sisterhood of the Sleight of Hand, a group of witches who work to aid mere mortal heroes. Tracy also possesses knowledge of the occult, which comes from likely both her mother and her father, as well as her own pursuits of knowledge. Number 8. WITCHFIRE. Probably one of the most underrated character in terms of just how cool she is WITCHFIRE. Honestly, I gotta do a cosplay of this magical hero at some point. Many people don't even seem to know about her, at least not my near and dear friends who read comics, which makes sense considering that she only has had a small amount of appearances in comparison to other mystics like John Constantine and Zatanna. Rebecca Carstairs appeared back in the days of the New Earth continuity, and while known for her skills as a witch, she was established as a famous singer, actress, and fashion model as well. As her name implies, she is a witch, so she has magical abilities, but is also well versed in pyrokinesis in addition. When she appeared in the Prime Earth continuity in 2018's Justice League Dark, she was actually sporting a pretty fitting outfit to match her fire skills, with shoulder pads that were made of literal fire, which traditionally tends to be her look. Sadly, her appearance there also resulted in her death, but she was up against some pretty powerful beings at that time, namely the Queen Mother of Witches, Hecata, or Hecate, or Hecate, depending on how you like to say that. Number 7. Jason Blood. When we talk about Etrigan, we often have a tendency to forget about Jason Blood, whom the powerful Prince of Hell is bonded to. While Jason might not be hellish royalty, he's actually still impressively powerful, even on his own. In the New Earth continuity, it was during his time with Etrigan likely that Jason became more powerful and well trained in the mystical arts and world of occult and demonology. However, it was hard for Jason to discern his true origin initially, as being bonded to Etrigan made his memories foggy. It was initially believed he was a member of the cult of Gaia, but later he learned that before his time bonded to Etrigan, he was a simple peasant and family man, who after the bonding process, in an uncontrollable frenzy, basically killed his own wife and his children, earning the name Jason of the Blood, later shortened to Jason Blood. In the Prime Earth continuity, however, Jason Blood was a scribe to Merlin, learning from him, when he was chosen to be bonded to the demon Etrigan. Merlin chose to bond Jason because he saw Jason's destiny. In both continuities, even without his bond to Etrigan, Jason Blood is a powerful magic user, although his bond to Etrigan does of course make him even stronger. Number 6. Talisman. Elizabeth II Youngman is Talisman, the daughter of another powerful magic user, Shaman. Like her father before her, Liz hails from the Sarsi tribe and would also end up becoming a team member of Alpha Flight, even though she and her father had a strained relationship growing up due to the death of her mother, which she blamed her father for. Eventually they would make up, and Talisman would even follow in her father's mystical footsteps. Her codename, Talisman, comes from the powerful magic item that she wields, the Talisman or Coronet of Power, which grants Elizabeth her abilities. However, even without it, she is able to manipulate mystical energy, sensing it, redirecting it, and communing with spirits.
Number 5. Sister Grimm. Sister Grimm was part of a team known as the Runaways that had its run in 2003. The Runaways were a group of teens who discovered their parents were part of a crime ring known as the Pride that planned to destroy and rebuild the Earth. The Runaways fight to stop them, and one of them is Sister Grimm, who inherited powers and technology from her parents. At one point, she re-encounters her parents after running away, and her mother points her staff at her chest, which becomes absorbed by her body. This is actually her main weapon, the Staff of One, and it is only released from her body when she bleeds. She has magical aptitude in her blood, but not the usual formal training. However, after her encounter with the Witchbreaker, her power improves, and she can now levitate, teleport using portals, and even fly. She can also cast spells that change her surroundings, like transforming the inside of a building. She is part of Strange Academy, the professor of creative spellcasting. This is a perfect role for her, as part of the way her staff works is she can never use the same spell twice. If she casts a spell she's already used a second time, not only will it not work, but it may even have an unintended effect.
Number 4, Black Alice. Black Alice is one that I don't even think we have ever mentioned on this channel. At least I don't think I've ever mentioned her. As far as my videos are going, I don't think I've ever brought her up. She is one of the members of the Sisterhood of the Sleight Hand. Her powers are pretty crazy. She is mystical based, and rather than being a straight edge superhero, she's more of an anti-hero. She has a goth inspired look, which I am super here for. Her magical abilities allow her to adopt the powers of any magical being for a short time, literally taking their powers, so leaving whoever she is lending from powerless until such a time as she is either done using said powers or time runs out on her own abilities. Black Alice's real name is Lori Zeklin, and she made her first appearance in the New Earth continuity back in Birds of Prey issue number 76 in 2004. Number 3, Zatanna. Zatanna is one of the most powerful magic users in the DC universe. She was born into magic, being the daughter of John Zatara. As such, part of Zatanna's natural affinity for magic comes from her lineage and from the fact that she is considered a Homo Magi, its own magical subrace of the human species. Whether we're talking about New Earth or Prime Earth in terms of our DC continuities, Zatanna is considered a magical powerhouse in either. She also loves magic so much at one point that she actually had to acknowledge that it was an addiction for her. That's how steeped in magic she is. Among her long list of powers, she is capable of manipulating and controlling time, traveling to alternate worlds and dimensions, elemental manipulation and control, telepathy, telekinesis, memory manipulation, matter manipulation at a molecular level, healing, creating force fields, teleporting, turning invisible or phasing, and illusion casting, or possibly even reality warping. Like I said, depending on which continuity we're talking about. This is cross-continuity powers, but still. It's nuts. Number 2, Agatha Harkness. Agatha Harkness is one of the most powerful magic users out there, especially when it comes to her knowledge and experience. While posed as a villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where she was revealed to be the main antagonist of the Disney Plus streaming series WandaVision, in the comics, Agatha is much more neutral and has often tried to help protect the world rather than cause harm to it. Sure, she doesn't always make the best call in order to do so, but at least, you know, she's trying to help, not hurt for the most part. Agatha's list of magical powers and abilities is long and includes transmutation, scrying, teleportation, magic negation and reflection, telekinesis, fusion, telepathy, elemental control, and the manipulation of dimensions, among many other abilities. Number 1, Storm. Because Storm is a mutant, many people dismiss her as not being magical in nature, and while her powers are of course mutant in origin, there is actually a lot of mystical heritage, potential, and actual supernatural and spiritual mysticism attached to Aurora Monroe. For one, Storm comes from a long line of powerful magical ancestors, and in fact her striking hair and eye color combination come up frequently in her lineage, also usually coming with magical potential and ability as well. She is related to both the Sorcerer Supreme of the Hyborian Age, Priestess Aisha, and Ashake, who worshipped the mother of Agamotto, Egyptian goddess Maat, sometimes known as Oshtur, and who also once used her magical abilities to help a time-displaced Mirage and magic. Herself, Storm has been both worshipped as and later granted a godhood herself, becoming a goddess whose power is fueled by people's belief in her. And it was also said at one point that she was one of the few with a powerful enough spirit to act as the host or potential host or avatar for the consciousness of eternity. Seriously though, I do not do enough magic based superhero cosplay. I really need to get on that. Number 10, Tarot. Tarot is Marie-Ange Colbert, a mutant we haven't heard from in a while, but who has recently turned up at least via text if not visually in the Dawn of X line. During the Ten of Swords event, she was the one to receive and communicate the powerful tarot reading that seemed to be reappearing all over the world. Tarot's mutant powers are precognition, which through the use of her tarot cards gives her amazingly accurate and specific readings pertaining to the future of an individual or an event. She has also been able to get readings on past events as well. Well, it's a very specific mutant power that is pretty intimately tied to the mystic arts via the power of tarot. But still, anytime you can like read the future, I think that's pretty powerful.
Before we get on to the next one, just want to remind you guys, take a second to hit that like button. It really helps us out here at Top 10 Nerd. Number 9. Pixie. Part of an immortal race known as the Eternals, Pixie is a free-spirited superhero who was present and defended the Earth during the Skrull invasion. Pixie is actually one of the few survivors from the first line, and set off the chain reaction that helped to destroy the Skull Armada. After this, she retired from adventuring on Earth, but occasionally still assisted her fellow Eternals. When the X-Men went to the Himalayas and encountered Yeti, she was the one who showed up and helped to take him down, having worked with Yeti in the past as part of the first line. After the Civil War, Tony Stark considered her as a potential recruit for the Initiative. She has a set of superpowers common to all Eternals, including super strength, flight, psionic abilities, and she can even project energy, but not at the same level as some other Eternals. She is immortal and already hundreds of years old, and has a natural psychic block in place to prevent mind reading and mind control.
Number 8. Jennifer Kale. Jennifer Kale became a magical hero and ally to the Man-Thing at a young age. She was a teenager who was interested in magic, and using a mystical tome she'd found while visiting her grandfather, accidentally summoned a demon, not knowing that the demon would not be under her control. The Man-Thing saved her, and it was revealed later on that he and she had a psychic link. Dceu the Enchanter eventually revealed himself to both Jennifer and Man-Thing, and had them both prove they were worthy before taking on Jennifer as his apprentice. He had been a student of ZATANNA beforehand, a powerful sorceress who believed that demons from the realm of Somnus would someday threaten the fate of the earth, attempting to invade. Dceu gave Jennifer the raiments of a priestess of ZATANNA and helped her to recover the tome of ZATANNA from another dimension, helping to protect the earth against a demon invasion. Jennifer is also an ally of Howard the Duck, and over the years has become a highly skilled magic user. Number 7. Detective Chimp. While often thought of as a supremely intelligent hero, with his abilities more about his brain and skills of deduction, similar in some ways to Bruce Wayne, aka Batman's main skill set, Bobo T. Chimpanzee is actually mystical in nature when it comes to his own origins. He was granted knowledge thanks to the magical place known as the Fountain of Youth. There, he gained the ability to speak to all beings, an enhanced genius-level intellect, and, of course, eternal youth. Bobo at one point also inherited the Sword of Night, gifted to him by Nightmaster, the former protector of the magical fantasy dimension known as Mira. And he has shown ability before to use his intellect to better understand mystical texts than even experienced and prominent magic users like ZATANNA. HELLSTROM. HELLSTROM or HELLSTROM? Well, actually, if we are talking about the heroic persona of Daimon, then in most cases it's going to be HELLSTROM. HELLSTROM is Daimon's legal last name as the son of the devil who came to Earth for a time to basically sire children. HELLSTROM, fun fact, used to be married to Hellcat, Patsy Walker. I just like that they both have hell in their main hero mantle. It's pretty great. Also, that relationship ended terribly though. Terribly. Daimon HELLSTROM, being the son of the devil, is also the heir to Hell, although he spent a lot of time not wanting to accept this responsibility as he often wrestled with the evil within him. Daimon actually was originally planning on becoming a priest before he learned of his true heritage via his mother's diary. He has not only been an adventurer and a superhero fighting alongside the Defenders, but has also been an occult detective and an exorcist as well, seeking to better understand his heritage while also actively fighting against it and his father's will. Number 5. Dr. Fate. Whether we are talking about Nabu, Kent, or Khalid, there have been many powerful incarnations of Dr. Fate over the years. The current Dr. Fate in the comics though is Khalid, so we're going to talk a little bit more about him today, although all Dr. Fates are powerful. Khalid might be the newer Dr. Fate, but that doesn't mean he's weak. He might still be getting a hang of his powers, but when we got to glimpse into his potential future during the Future State event, we learned that Khalid is fierce, capable, and brave enough to take on Merlin and bring the Justice League Dark back together in order to get their help in facing off with Merlin. While in this alternate future Dr. Fate and the Justice League Dark fail to stop Merlin in the end, Dr. Fate here does inform Etrigan that there is one future where the team wins against their foe and declares that he knows this because he's lived all of these possible futures out before. Also, wow, that is such an Infinity War moment. He's like, look, there's only one reality where this is gonna work out, so just you remember stuff, Etrigan, because you exist sort of outside of time because you're a demon. This also means that while we see Dr. Fate lose here, there is a reality where he and his team win against Merlin, which is an amazingly impressive feat because Merlin is crazy powerful, especially in Future State. Number 4. Dr. Voodoo. Brother Voodoo, aka Jericho Drum, was considered skilled and disciplined enough to actually become the new Sorcerer Supreme, becoming Dr. Voodoo. Big, exciting level up for Jericho. Initially, Jericho never wanted the responsibility of becoming a Hungan, but after the death of his brother, Daniel, swore to him that he would train in the mystical arts and take his place, seeking to avenge his brother's death. Voodoo carries his brother's spirit with him, which helps to bolster his power. He was chosen later on to become Sorcerer Supreme by Agamotto. The Eye of Agamotto left Stephen Strange and instead sought out his replacement, choosing Brother Voodoo because he was considered pure of heart and at the time a much better candidate. Doctor Strange was basically doing some super dark things at the time, although he did have his reasons. Jericho is a skilled magic user, capable of manipulating the elements and mystical creatures. He's also capable of hypnosis, flight, and teleportation. And he's also a trained psychologist. Bonus! Number 3. Manitou Dawn. Manitou Dawn is a character from DC Comics who definitely deserves more love than she gets. She has been associated with the Justice League Elite in the past and is a proud member of the Apache tribe. Her and her husband are both powerful mystics, and at one point Manitou Dawn also garnered attention from Hecata, becoming one of her witch-marked. Manitou Dawn was one of the few people to survive Hecata's attack on the universe. Her magical ability allows her to change size, teleport, manipulate time, telekinesis, and even grants her resurrection powers. While also associated with the Apache tribe, Manitou Dawn is actually from Atlantis, being born there before the famed city sunk into the ocean. She was one of the first members of the Apache tribe, migrating to America eons ago and actually playing a role in its beginnings. At least, you know, in the comics. Not necessarily in real life, because she's not a real person, as far as I know. Number 2. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful magic users we have in Marvel, although the results of her magic can sometimes be unpredictable. Like during the Empire event when she accidentally created a ton of mutant zombies in her attempt to properly resurrect all the lives lost in the Genosha Mutant Massacre. Still, Scarlet Witch is powerful enough that she has been considered as a candidate for Sorcerer Supreme. She can use her powers to manipulate time, reality, and probability, as well as project energy, create force fields, cast spells, heal, create magical weapons, enhance her own physical prowess, and teleport. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. That's like stuff I'm just saying and you could speed me up saying it and then like make it scroll because it's so much stuff. The problem is simply that things don't always turn out the way Wanda had envisioned, and her mental state often affects her actions, making her appear sometimes even villainous, when that is generally the furthest thing that Wanda wants, to alienate herself. She is often just a character seeking love and acceptance who struggles to find where she belongs and sometimes to find her own sense of independence and confidence.
And here we are at number 1. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a brilliant but arrogant neurosurgeon who mangled his hands in a car accident and became seriously distraught. When modern medicine failed him, he went on a journey leading him to Tibet, where he trained with the Ancient One, healing his hands, learning about magic, and eventually rising to the rank of Master of the Mystic Arts. He is the Sorcerer Supreme for the Marvel Prime Universe, and Strange has a really storied past, having been affiliated with many superhero teams and taking part in some incredible storylines throughout his history. I really love how Doctor Strange goes from arrogant doctor who only cares about money to a broken man who literally sells all his possessions to travel to the East, later discovering not only is magic real, but that he can control it. As the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange is immensely powerful, and he also has a whole collection of powerful artifacts at his disposal. He is an expert in the Black Priest's ability to use language to distort reality, using the power of the words to create energy blasts, organic disintegration, and even paralysis. He can channel the extra-dimensional energy of mystical beings to empower his spells. And it's been said that Doctor Strange is as powerful as the god he invokes.
Number 10. NICO Minoru. NICO Minoru was initially introduced to us at Marvel Comics as a member of the Runaways. NICO ran away from home after learning that her parents were basically murderers and possibly cultists. Later she would discover that they were dark wizards and that NICO had inherited some of their magical abilities. Or at least their knack for magic. Her mother drove a staff through NICO's chest, which was basically how she came to possess the Staff of One, which is often what NICO uses to cast her magic. Much of NICO's power comes from blood magic, and we've seen that the more blood NICO spills, the more powerful she can become. Even without the Staff of One, she has become adept at casting some spells. NICO's magic initially was also shown to be quite unpredictable when it came to the effects of the spells she cast. I believe originally she could, I don't know if this is still a thing, but originally anytime she cast a spell she could only cast it once. So if she ever said that thing again, it would do something totally different. Number 9. Amethyst. Technically, Amethyst is believed to be one of the most powerful magic users in the DC universe, due to the fact that she is descended from a Lord of Order. Well, at least initially. In the current continuity, Amethyst doesn't have quite the same power levels because she doesn't have quite the same origin. Here she also gets power from her lineage though, which has grown over time as others in her family have passed on their power to her, although I don't think she's descended from a Lord of Order anymore in the current continuity. Similar to a Green Lantern, Amethyst can use her power to create constructs, but instead of them being light constructs, she can make crystal constructs. She can also use hard light to conjure crystals, which themselves are sharp enough to be used as weapons on their own. Amethyst can also imbue crystals with specific powers, making her power set a strangely diverse one as well. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more powerful magical lists, oh my goodness, there's so many powerful magic users in both of the big two, so let us know and we will get that for you. Number 8. Daimon HELLSTROM. We don't talk about Daimon HELLSTROM enough on this channel, so I'm happy to have him featured here on my powerful mystical superheroes list. While Daimon is often thought of as being more demonic in origin, that is kind of exactly what connects him to the realm of mysticism as well. After all, demons are usually all connected within the world of magic in Marvel and I would say in DC besides. Daimon also might be the son of a powerful demon who either is or at least claims to be the devil, but that doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. Daimon has often tried to live his life more as a hero and initially was like an occult detective in the comics, answering calls and trying to fight against his dark side, balancing it with good deeds and acts of heroism as he combated against other demons and the evil side of the supernatural.
Number 7. Day Tripper. Born with the name Jemaine Zardos, she is the daughter of a powerful Romani sorceress and grew up in the circus with her brother. His name was Stefan, and he suffered bouts of homicidal madness occasionally. The family adopted Nightcrawler in his youth, and he made a pact with his crazy brother that he would kill him if he ever became too violent. This eventually does happen, and it really blows up the whole family, with the mother Margali seeking revenge for Nightcrawler for killing her son. But anyway, back to Day Tripper. She was first introduced as Amanda Sefton, a flight attendant who dates Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler. When Kurt joined the Excalibur team, he asked her to also join, as they often go up against magical opponents. She once attempted to become Doctor Strange's disciple, and also helped to retrieve Captain Britain from the Time Stream. She has also aided the X-Men in battle against the Hellfire Club. She is a sorceress who follows the path of the Winding Way, and she is quite powerful, capable of teleportation, casting illusions, and hypnotism, as well as shapeshifting.
Number 6. John Constantine. John Constantine is a fan favorite among DC and of course Vertigo readers, or former Vertigo readers since Vertigo's not a thing anymore. While he isn't the most natural born caster, he is good at making do with what he's got and smooth talking his way through solutions to, at times, seemingly apocalyptic problems. Constantine is kind of like the Odysseus of magic users. He's wily, surprisingly quick-witted, resourceful, and fairly ruthless. There is also no low too low for him to sink to, which means that he often pulls off impressive feats by the skin of his teeth simply because he's willing to go a route that most heroes wouldn't or couldn't even entertain. Of course, this also makes him quite a bit of a scoundrel, which is also perhaps what makes him all the more charming and well liked among us fans. In other words, Constantine is more powerful for how resourceful he is than his own personal power set, I would say. He also is an anti-hero or hero that you love to read about, but probably not one you'd actually want to know or befriend were he to exist in real life. I know there's going to be people in the comments that are going to be like, no, I want to be friends with Constantine, but just be careful because, you know, he might sacrifice you to try to get something for himself or to try to fix a bigger problem. He's definitely done that to people before and just killed them and been like, sorry about that. Sorry mate, that's just how it goes. Number 5. Black Panther. Black Panther also happens to be a mystical superhero, although as a world leader we usually think of him for his democratic as well as his tactical abilities, and of course his physical prowess as a fighter. His powers are actually steeped in mysticism though. The powers granted to T'Challa by the heart-shaped herb are believed to be somewhat divine, and in addition to those abilities, he was also granted more power from the goddess Bast during his reign as King of the Dead. Through his powers granted to him by Bast, he can connect with all the previous Black Panthers to have come before him, drawing on their wisdom, their knowledge, and their strength. In addition, he was granted power over the dead, becoming a necromancer. Number 4. Doctor Strange. While normally Doctor Strange would always hijack our top spot on this kinda list, lately in the comics things have been a little bit weird for our hero of mysticism. And also, he's kinda dead. Well, dead and not dead. Let me explain. The series Death of Doctor Strange deals with, you guessed it, the death of Doctor Strange. However, while current Stephen may be dead and gone in our current continuity, a temporal version of him from the past appears to take his place. The only thing about this version of Doctor Strange is while he's still powerful, he'd only have the same power level, experience, and skill set of Doctor Strange at the time that he is from, meaning he's likely not as powerful as the more experienced and older version that seemingly mysteriously died.
Number 3. Man-Thing. Man-Thing is a tragic dude. He was a biochemistry professor named Ted Sallis, working on Project Sulfur, which aimed to allow soldiers to survive biochemical weapons. It was developed into serum SO2, and it worked, but had the unfortunate side effect of turning its users into monsters. He once worked alongside Dr. Kurt Connors and tried to improve his serum into a super soldier serum, like the one used on Captain America. His wife becomes bitter after being neglected for so long while he's focused on his work, and she eventually sells him out to greedy AIM agents seeking to steal his technology. As he's escaping from their ambush, he injects himself with the only existing sample of the serum, right before his car crashes into the swamp. The magical energies of the swamp and the serum combine to transform him into a hideous 7-foot swamp monster. Man-Thing gets into some crazy mystical stuff, helping Doctor Strange with fixing the shattered nexus of all realities. He is basically vegetable matter formed with mystical energy and swamp mutations all wrapped up in a lovely package. As the guardian of the nexus of all realities, he has some serious mystical responsibilities. He is also very powerful, with his abilities including regeneration, teleportation, and even reality displacement. Also, his porous form is resistant to many forms of attacks, as fists or bullets just pass right through him.
Number 2. Wiccan. As a fan favorite, Wiccan has also been thought of as a perfect pick for Sorcerer Supreme at times where we've been lacking one, or just at times where Strange seemed to be keeping an eye on, a potential replacement. While Billy Kaplan may have been lacking in previous years, more recently in the comics, throughout the events of Empire and King in Black, he's proven just how impressive a magic user he is. Wiccan is the reincarnated son of Scarlet Witch, so when it comes to being a magical powerhouse, it's kind of in his family tree. While on his honeymoon with his new husband and love of his life, Hulkling, Billy helped to save an entire resort planet's populace and tourists from Null's symbiotic space dragons. The cool thing about Wiccan's powers is they typically work based on his will and his desires, allowing him to warp reality as need be. So if he wants something to happen magically, it can, and it just does. And fortunately, he seems to have a little bit more control over that in comparison to Wanda, who has willed things into existence before without really knowing, or at least willing to realize that her magic was behind it. Number 1. Dr. Voodoo. Dr. Voodoo is Jericho Drumm, who himself in the Marvel Universe was known as Sorcerer Supreme at one point. He took over when Doctor Strange was no longer deemed worthy and served as his replacement for a time. Eventually, he and Strange were forced to face the evil forces of Agamotto together, who wasn't impressed with either option at the time when it came to Sorcerer Supremes. Dr. Voodoo has also shared the leadership role of Strange Academy with his friend and magical colleague Stephen Strange. He is well known for his voodoo magic, which he trained to use when becoming a Hungan in his brother's place. He typically uses his voodoo magic to tap into and utilize white magic. Drumm can also use his magic to influence and inspire the undead and spirits to do his bidding, teleport, manipulate time and matter, create powerful magical force fields and shields, influence animals, and wield the power of the elements, among many other things.